Welcome to a peak performance here at Mercy College Sound Studios on the beautiful campus of Mercy College. It's a Saturday, and I'm here with a young singer-songwriter with an acoustic guitar. It's an acoustic session today with Myron Elkins. Thanks for joining us, Myron. And let's start out with a song. Why not?
Alrighty. Yeah, I'm gonna. Thanks for having me. I'm gonna do a song. It's kind of one of the more country things on the album.
All right.
Even though it's not really a country album, but this one here is called Ball and Chain. Tied me to the ball and chain. Masquerades drive me insane, for I'm running out of love. You can steal my heart, you can steal my name. Walk me through your holy flame, for I'm running out of love. Now I'm running out of love. Oh, with all I do, no I can't. My ship will surely sink. But after all, I'm just a man who's on the break, yeah. Call that doctor, make it quick. Tell that doctor I took sick, for I'm running out of love, yeah. Well, doctor, can't you see what this woman has done to me? She's got me running out of love. Oh, now I'm running out of love. Oh, with all I do, all I can, my ship will surely sink. But after all, I'm just a man who's on the break, yeah, on the brain.
Myron Elkins on 107.1 The Peak at a peak performance. Myron, you're originally from Michigan,
Yeah.
right? And now you're based in Nashville.
Yeah. It's Otsego, Michigan, but it's I always say Kalamazoo because just north of it. And
People from Michigan, anybody I meet, you're supposed to put up your hand,
oh yeah,
right? And because Michigan's like shaped like an oven mitt almost.
Yeah,
and,
yep.
So where on the hand exactly are you from? Is it like more to the thumb?
So yeah, the thumb. Well, the thumb's the cool part.
Oh, okay.
I think.
That's good to know that the thumb is the cool part.
Yeah, that's like your Motown and stuff, you know.
Oh, gotcha.
We're from over like northern Indiana. Is pretty
So
much
you're
what it is.
from like, I see, the other side of the hand.
Yeah, it's
I see.
just flat and not a lot goes on. They call it the Bible Belt of Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's just it's very it's rural.
Right.
And really forgotten about. I think Kalamazoo is kind of just a very forgotten city.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, we used it's the home of Gibson guitar.
Oh, well, that's
and,
fun. Do you play a Gibson? What is that?
No. They left, I think, in '85.
Oh, okay.
But I do play a heritage guitar, which the workers after Gibson up and left Kalamazoo, they kind of stuck around and started building guitars still. But yeah, just forgotten about. Checker Car Cab Company, also the yellow taxi cabs.
Yeah,
those were built there.
Oh wow.
And I think just during the
Yeah, I mean, as a New Yorker, I feel like we hear about Kalamazoo because it's just such a funny name to us.
Yeah, it is.
I think Derek Jeter might even be from
Yep.
around Kalamazoo.
Yeah,
so
he is. He's
there's sort
one
of a
the
New York.
few. I think Derek Jeter and
and
fisherman.
Myron Elkins.
Well, it's nothing too crazy there. Just it's low key, and I think that follows me around a lot when it comes to ego and stuff.
So, growing up in that part of Michigan, you, I think I read you had a background in welding, right? You were like a welder.
Yeah.
Right. So where were you welding? Like at a factory or?
Yeah, it's called Landscape Forms.
Okay.
I wasn't very good at school and stuff,
Welding is tough work and tedious work, and
yeah, but it's not. I guess I got myself into a line of work where I didn't have to use my head too much,
Well, welding is not easy. My father had an auto body shop, and the guys would have to weld things from time to time, and you got to be careful with that welder, man.
Yeah, you can.
Did you ever weld? Here's a welding question. Did you ever weld without your mask one day by accident, and then you burn your eyes?
Yeah, but it isn't not too bad, honestly.
Oh, really?
The
Okay.
worst part about it was you caught on fire a lot.
Right, and that's the other thing. You can get caught on fire.
Yeah, and that's it never really happened to me to the point where
It's a problem.
I was running around,
Right.
but I saw it happen.
You keep that fire extinguisher handy when you break out the welder.
Yep,
and you
and
keep your mask on. Those are two general rules you may want.
Yeah.
When you're welding.
And I got some burns, but nothing really. It's nothing compared to probably what some people were going through back in the real industrial days. So
right.
it's just one of those things. It's you do what you got to do, I guess.
All right. Well, at a certain point, you put down the welder and picked up the guitar, which I guess could be tough on your fingers, right? But
yeah.
At what point did you move to Nashville?
Just last year.
Oh, okay. Because it seems like, Nashville these days is the hub. Is one of the big hubs of all things cool music, and it's not just country anymore. It's all kinds of cool music. Is that what kind of drew you there? There were kind of all different musicians just kind of going there, and you could stay there, and there's studios and things happen in venues and stuff?
Yeah, mostly. The musicians. We were a pretty tight group up in Michigan, family and friend band.
Yeah.
And after we got done recording the album, it took a minute to release this thing.
Yeah.
And during that time, I lost my drummer, who was my cousin.
Oh, wow.
He didn't die.
Thank God.
Yeah, he was just he was kind of over it, and after we lost him,
wasn't into it anymore.
Yeah, after we lost him, there's a very big shortage of players up there.
Oh, yeah,
and
right.
I had to be in a place where I could assemble a band and have people who are into it,
Yeah.
So I would have been up there in Michigan if it wasn't for that, to be honest with you.
Well, Nashville's not a bad place to be, certainly.
No, it's very inspiring.
Yeah,
I
feel like you could. I know somebody that was a local artist here, and they moved out to Nashville, and they were looking for some advice. And the advice I give to everybody is just keep playing and playing and playing and playing, because that's kind of what I do. And in radio and whatever it is you're doing, just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And whether it's in front of 10 people or 1,000 people or whatever. And Nashville, I feel like, is a place where there could be 5 people in the room, and one of those people is connected to the music industry somehow.
Yeah,
and
that's
pretty
much how it happened for me.
Yeah. Right.
I think I only played down there maybe 3 times, and
and you're going to meet somebody who needs a backup singer or needs to help writing a song or needs a session player, and you go from there, and then you get recognized with your own talent. So, Nashville definitely seems like a really cool place, and
it's fun. It's just it's kind of oversaturated, I guess.
Right.
As it probably should be, because it is that. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of excitement down there.
Yeah.
And the Midwest, man, I'm sure even around here maybe. Well, New York City, I guess, is kind of dreamy, but playing a guitar or singing in a band is not a way of living,
Right.
That's not a viable.
No. Right. Like, did your parents have a problem with you kind of playing the guitar? Were they supportive, or were they just kind of maybe not against you playing the guitar, but like, are you going to do that?
Well,
for a
I did
living?
it responsibly. You know, it's like being an alcoholic, I guess.
Right.
Like,
You could always fall back on your welding career. I
Yes,
guess.
yeah. And I never went for it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I never sat around the house
Yeah.
smoking dope, playing guitar or
Right,
anything. You know
right.
what I mean? I was
Yeah.
always working, and then
Okay.
on the weekends, kitchen tables and
Yeah.
bonfires is when the guitar would come out.
Oh, okay.
It was never like I'm gonna quit my job. And,
Right. And take a chance and just go for it. Right.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
never that.
Okay.
Just because, you know, it's not even in my head still.
Right. Right. You're just a blue collar working family that doesn't even You're thinking of you got to support yourself and your paycheck and if you get married and have a family, you got to support. You're
Yeah.
thinking about all that. You're not
Yeah,
thinking about
it's-
having fun.
It's not really. It's that's just in Nashville. That's an actual thing. I think people can hang their hat on as being a musician.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
that's acceptable, I guess.
Right. When you're from an area like Kalamazoo where it is rural,
Yeah.
it's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough.
that's not an actual thing. And to be honest with you, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you let all these people start doing what they want to do. It might be kind of.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and you develop some. It's like some discipline and
and realist. It's just realism, you know.
Yeah, and different qualities when you're, doing some work, and you're right. Well, that's an interesting backstory, and we'll get more into that. But let's play another song.
Okay, I'll play this one about every time we do these radio things, but it's because I like it, and it's right down my street, I guess you'd call it.
All right.
The song here is called Mr. Breadwinner. It's hard to make a living when the world keeps slipping away. You gotta keep the devil and the man with the devil at bay. I'll let you in on a man-to-man secret. You gotta stay quiet, you gotta swear to keep it. It's hard to make a living when the world keeps slipping away. Oh, hey there, Mr. Breadwinner. You're sold to the touch and can't afford the dinner. We all rely on the mighty breadwinner, and we're out just doing okay. Oh, just doing okay. Yeah. It's hard to make a living when the man's getting in the way. You gotta keep your head when the stakes are a bet and a play. I'll let you in on a man-to-man secret. You gotta stay quiet, you gotta swear to keep it. It's hard to make a living when the man's getting in the way. Oh, hey there, Mr. Breadwinner. 12 hours on a day and you can't afford your sitter. We all rely on the mighty breadwinner, and we're out just doing okay. Oh, just doing okay. Yeah. Oh, just doing okay.
Myron Elkins at a peak performance. The album is Factories, Farms, and Amphetamines. Is that kind of a description of some places in Michigan, or?
Yeah, well, like I was saying, I guess Southwest Michigan is kind of, they call it like the Bible Belt of
Right.
Michigan. Like I said, it's very just kind of rural and...
And the album title kind of is a hat tipped, is a nod to that part of Michigan, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and yeah, just kind of the way things are ran up there.
Yeah.
For for the good or for the bad of it,
Yeah, I think you're going through like what I went through too, and what most people go through about the place they grew up. I think you go through a stage where you like it, then you hate it, and you got to get out, and then you leave, and you're like, oh, it's not so bad, and you go back. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, right? You grow up and you go through phases, and then you look back, and you're like, that wasn't such a bad place to live in.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a bad spot, and I know exactly what you mean. And the fun thing about this whole thing is when this Americana thing kind of kicked off.
Yeah.
The Kentucky, West Virginia thing really got covered heavily.
Yeah.
And thankfully, that Midwest thing never really got covered too much. So,
right.
I guess I'm trying to hunt that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of exciting for me, especially with like the production of this record. We kind of have some Motown stuff going on, and
I heard. That's what I heard when I, first time I heard your song, and this is a compliment to you. Like it's one of those what I call a slam dunk. March it down the hall to my program director and say, here's the next song we're putting in rotation. It was just that simple. I think there's a little bit of a, now it's kind of a trend. There's kind of a retro sound is kind of the trend, and it goes a few directions. There's some artists who go all the way back to like the 50s.
Yeah.
Some artists go back to like the 80s and have like a lot of synthesizers. And guys like you and I know Marcus King put out a record that are more like 70s rock production style, and it just sounds fantastic.
And it, I guess technically it sounds good.
Yes.
Because to sound good, I guess it would be very clear and...
they knew what they were doing back then.
Yeah.
As far as production.
I feel like this kind of, the retro thing you're talking is more familiar. Familiarity, When you hear that, you're like...
Yeah.
It's like your car.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like you're used to your car or a blanket or something. You know what I mean?
And at the same time, some people who are young, it's kind of new to them too. Because they're kind of used to mass-produced. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but there's more technology involved, and
the more
so it can be new to them if they're young enough.
Especially if it's more of the kind of digital recording and not so much analog.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff I loved, and this is it's not common. I'm 22, but
I was going to say you're pretty young yourself, Myron.
Yeah, the stuff I was listening to though, like we were just talking about Jim Croce, Bill Withers, Merle Haggard, and all kinds of stuff. That was all that analog recording. So when I hear this kind of retro thing, it just sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a blanket or something. You just carry that thing around.
Yeah. So where'd you hear all that stuff growing up in the house, or your dad, your mom?
Yeah. Well, no, my mom and dad, they were like my dad would have graduated in 2000. Mm-hmm. So they were listening to pop music.
Your father, see, that made me feel old because I graduated in 2001.
Okay, yeah. So he would. They were listening to hip hop.
So it's like your
stuff.
grandfather then. Oh,
yes,
dear.
yeah.
Oh my! I just had a moment.
Well, I think it's one of those things too. You know how it
makes sense because my parents. You're right. My parents are old enough to be your grandparents, and so they had that sound. Yeah.
And it's probably one of those things where you resent what your parents listen to.
100%. Yeah, my mother was a big Beatles fan.
Okay.
So growing up, I was like, these Beatles, they don't. This band stinks.
Yep.
And then you grow up, you're like, no, the Beatles are pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I don't know.
They kind of knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen to me because my parents were listening to commercial country music.
Yeah.
And Akon and Nelly.
Okay. So you want to totally. So you're the child who just does the opposite of your parents, and you just go in a complete. And they're like, I don't know whose child this is.
Well, they could respect some of the old music, but they were kids having kids.
Yeah.
So when I was 4 or 5 years old, we were in a Windstar van listening to Nelly or something. You know what I mean?
That's funny. That's a lot of fun. So when did you pick up the guitar and start learning?
Well, I never really wanted set out to be to play guitar. It was more of like a tool.
Okay.
Some people pick up a guitar and want to be like Eddie Van Halen or something.
Right. You just want to hang around the campfire and just hang.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I needed something to build a story on, I guess. You know.
Yeah. Were you more of a? Were you more into songwriting or singing? Like, what did you set out to do? If you weren't setting out to do
storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not really. The last 2 years is when I really picked up a obsession for a feel of a song.
Yeah. There really is an art to it, and it really is a craft to learn how to write a song that people connect with, and that there really is something to that. I feel like there's a lot of talented musicians. The talent's there, but they just can't quite figure out that song, how to structure a song.
Yeah,
and
the
all
feel
that stuff.
thing.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And my first band I was in, I'm still in it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to listen to some of the guys in the group when they're like, I didn't listen to words.
Right.
I listened to that guitar part.
Yeah, and people listen to music very differently. That's what I realized too as I got into the radio business. It's like some people are lyrics people, some people are, melody or rhythm people, and so there are many ways you can listen to a song too. So it's all got to kind of come together. You have a very unique sounding voice. Is that just what naturally came out when you first started singing?
No, I stole this.
I was going to say, or did you do you have to figure out your actual voice, figure out how you're going to sing and what you're going to sound like? Do you have to practice a little bit? And
so when I first started singing, I loved country music.
Yeah.
And I got, it was Johnny Cash. I was like the first guy. So I just walked around the house. And I wouldn't sing, like a proper person would sit down and sing.
Johnny Cash is very tough to imitate.
Yeah, especially when you're 6, you know.
Exactly.
So I did that, and I broke everything, I think.
Yeah.
Any chance of me being able to sing correctly was right out the window, right off the bat.
Right.
And then after imitating all those country guys...
I was going to say, you probably start out imitating other singers until you find your actual voice, right?
Yep. From a really small school. It was called Martin. It was in a cornfield. I think our graduation class was like 30. But we got our first black kid. And we were on the bus, and I asked what she was listening to, and it was Etta James.
Oh.
Louis Armstrong doing Le'Veon Rose and just kind of this more soul thing.
Yeah.
And right from there, I just dove head first, and that's when I found Otis Redding.
Right.
And then I threw away all the.
Now that you mention, I do hear a little bit of that in your voice.
Otis huge,
Redding,
man. He's for me the best singer, you know.
Yeah.
So I went after that. Failed at that one too, so I had to throw all that away, and then eventually you just kind of sit down and live with what you are.
Yeah.
And for me, I was this guy who only knew how to sing through the back of his throat, and could never reach exactly what he wanted to do. So
it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, well, but you listen to good natural singers like Stevie Wonder and Otis and Merle Haggard and George Jones. Mm-hmm. Etta James, those are real, actual, and I don't know if I've heard one of those in a very long time.
Did you ever? Would you ever? Even though you're pretty successful now, but would you ever take a singing lesson? Or do you think that might mess you up?
Yeah, well, maybe, but I'm not really that interested in it now.
Yeah.
I'm just really trying to write
just
stuff.
Write some songs. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would. I don't know. I don't know if I'd enjoy that too much.
I was gonna say, that might. Like I said, it might. If it's not broken, don't fix it. I guess.
And I don't really like. I don't really like.
Conventional
which is it sounds super hipster and lame to say, but
yeah.
So that's how I got this thing. I always just tell everybody I robbed it. You know, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I think that's what everybody's did.
I think everybody just kind of fakes it till they make it, right?
Yeah.
And then before long, you'll look up. You've got 10, 15, 20 years of experience, and people are asking you for advice and what your opinion is. That's That was my experience when I started in radio when I was your age, and after a while, you just kind of start to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or you just never really know what you're doing, and you just act like you do anyway.
Yep. Like, is Tom Waits?
Yeah.
You know, is that real?
What? Oh, his voice?
That whole thing, yeah, you know.
I don't know. I'm not that into Tom Waits, but yeah, I never really thought about it. You're right. That's
What is that?
I don't know.
You know, Joe Cocker? Does he
Joe
really?
Cocker,
you
right?
know?
When he speaks,
Is that really? Is he Ray Charles or? You know?
yeah, I don't know.
It's just all
It's
one
all
of the. It's all the
yeah.
things, and you know, DJs. I don't know if you have one, but a lot of
What?
DJs have a radio voice.
I do not. This is my radio voice. We pride ourselves on the Peak not having.
Okay.
We're just using our regular voices.
You don't have a.
No. Yeah, no. We don't do that. We don't do that.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I could live with myself.
Yeah. You'd have to start taking some happy pills.
That's right. That's right. How about one last song?
Okay. Yeah, I'll do. This is the lead single. We
Yeah, this
led
is the
with
song I
one.
first heard, and I was like, "Yep, that'll work."
Well,
And,
it was really we worked with this producer named Dave Cobb, and he's got a pretty good track record. And when he kind of constructed this song, the way it turned out, I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, you missed the point." You know, because this is a song about domestic violence.
yeah.
But I think you nailed it. This is a good one. He produced this one just right. This one's called "Hands Myself." Well, you're scared, and I know that. Your eyes are swollen, your lips are thin. You can hide if you want. I will win in the long run. Just tell me, now disguise. I plan to tell that man in the sky. You can hope, you can pray that maybe someday someone will love, someone will help, and put you on some kind of shelf. Oh, I swear I'll never learn to keep my hands to myself. Well, time ain't your friend, and I hate to see you cry. Your lips are split, and that's blood in your eye. I can't go on loving like this, pain in my heart, in my fist. Lord, I hope you leave for my brain goes out the last month's rent on my nose. You can hope, you can pray that maybe someday someone will love, someone will help, and put you on some kind of shelf. Oh, I swear I'll never worry. Oh, I swear I'll never learn to keep my hands to myself. Yeah. Keep my hands to myself. Oh. So I got this other verse. We never added it in there, but being like a big country music fan, I kind of had to put an ending on this thing. Well, she just left out the door. I'm laying face down on the floor, my blood on her hands, but that's just fine. For revenge ain't no kind of crime.
Myron Elkins, Hands to Myself, the song we're playing right now on the Peak, and we got a special edition there with an extra last verse.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks. That's great. When you're writing songs, do songs just kind of come to you as throughout the day as you're kind of walking around, or do you set the time down and sit down and say, okay, now is songwriting time. Here's what are we going to do?
Yeah. So for me, I normally got to let it come to me. If I sit down and aim for it, it doesn't end well a lot of the times.
Right.
I've got a list of things I hear and see and think, and I'll write those down. And when I get a feel, like we were talking about, we're sitting there playing something, you're like, okay. A lot of the times that'll talk to you.
Yeah.
And then I'll look through that list and hit on a subject or a phrase that I've been carrying around with me. And that'll work that way. The best ones come really fast for me.
That's what they always say.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
the best songs write themselves in 10, 20 minutes.
Yes, yeah. That's the best ones. But some very enjoyable songs, have tick in 2 days or something,
Yeah.
But the real good ones, those will come in about 20 minutes, and I don't know where they come from, really. I don't want to sound.
Well, it's almost divine, right? That
Yeah,
just
yeah. I'm not a very smart person, I'm not a very just not.
Well, I think there's different kinds of smarts at different levels of smart, and you seem pretty damn smart to me.
Yeah, well, it's a weird thing that has come out of the sky, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's you got to be sitting there with your mitt, If you can't get to a guitar fast enough, it's gone.
Right. And then eventually you call in the band, and they come up, and you come up with the music, and you start jamming and come up with the whole thing. Or
as of lately, probably for album 2, I've written just about everything.
Oh wow! Well,
as far as guitar parts go, and
well, something to look forward to.
Yeah,
album 2.
Well, yeah,
from Myron Elkins.
That'll be fun.
I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Play it for me right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for visiting us today. It was great. This music sounded great, and the conversation was great. And happy to talk to you. Come back and visit us anytime you like. Thanks to Sam and the crew here at Mercy College, where we have this awesome studio at our disposal. And Myron Elkins, Factories, Farms, and Amphetamines is the album. And thanks for being with us today on 107.1 The Peak.